Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Stage Door. This series is presented by the Graham Academy in partnership with The Stage Door on Rogers Cornerbrook. And we are here this week with a very, very special guest and very familiar face to Cornerbrook now, Miss Louise Gauthier. So welcome, Louise, to The Stage Door.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm going to look into the camera, all the Zoom techniques, right? So look into the camera when you're speaking.
I know, it's so different. You're so tempted to just look at yourself the whole time, but it's a different world getting used to this. You know, you've been on the Stage Door a couple of times in studio, and I know, Louise, from experience that you are a hugger, so you must be having a difficult time with all this COVID stuff and being stuck indoors and no hugs.
Yes. No, for sure. I'm actually really warming up to my dog. I mean, not that I didn't like my dog, but the dog was more Dahlia and Michael's dog, and now he's becoming my dog too. Like, I'm just way more affectionate and way more, I don't know, cuddly with him, I guess. But then after it's all over, it'll be finished.
There you go.
Buddy, get away from me. No, I'm allergic in my defense, so it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, it's a complicated relationship that we have with our pets that cause us so much snuffles and allergies, but they are very lovable creatures.
He is.
So, Louise, I guess we'll start with one of my favorite questions that I always like to ask when we do these interviews. And that is, was there kind of that big moment for you as an artist when you realized, hey, I could do something, I could do this artistic thing for my whole life? Did you have one of those moments?
Yes. And funny enough, the moment involves a dog. It does. I was in high school, and it was like a variety show that we did. And I had to play like, I guess in Newfoundland, you guys would call it a skeet, right? I was a skeet. Does that make sense? Skeet, I've got the right word? Okay. Like the kid who like always coming in and having to hand in notes. Like I'm late because, I don't know. So I went on stage as the skeet, and I like a skeet kind of talk, and I was like, yeah, sorry, miss, like I'm late for class. Yeah, I know, but I got a note here. And I give her the note, and she's like looking at it. She's like, this is a dog print. So, yeah, that's my dog, Cork. He signed it before I left home. And yeah, I guess I had one of those aha moments where I was like, because it got a big laugh. And so it was like, okay, I think I could very easily be addicted to this kind of attention, and in particular, making people laugh. I loved making people laugh. Did a lot of Carol Burnett imitations when I was growing up.
Amazing. That's fantastic. I mean, that whole troupe on the Carol Burnett show, I think certainly inspired so many people because they just had fun. Like, I can watch it now after seeing it hundreds of times and still be in tears laughing at some of their sketches that they did. And you know, I think they certainly, we'll talk a little bit about this, I'm sure, but I think they certainly used some of those gifts that weren't expected to let the scene take an honest life and transmit that story to the audience.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I can think of, I don't know if you guys would know. Has anybody raised their hand if you've watched Carol Burnett reruns? No?
Should.
Okay.
You would honestly.
Yeah,
hey,
but yeah, no.
Lily, thank you.
Someone has. Oh, good. No, but they'd be doing a scene, and somebody would corpse. Like, somebody would just start laughing, and they would just keep it going, and they would let it feed the scene, and those were probably the best moments in the show, really.
Yeah, it is really wonderful to watch. So, you know, Louise, you're on the show this time. We get to talk about you first as an artist, which is very exciting and kind of a first for us on the Stage Door. There's been a lot of projects that we've had you, so I know to our the viewers, you're certainly a familiar face. But, Louise, the number of projects that we've talked about show how many different aspects of the arts that you've been involved in through the years. You are, I think, the definition of a multidisciplinary artist. I think it's quite amazing, and we'll try to touch on each of those as we work our way through. And I think we have to start with clowning, which is an amazing art form that I think a lot of people don't know about. So, Louise, let's first, I guess, let's give your basic definition of pachinko clowning and what it is to be a clown.
Well, it's, people sort of think, what is it to be a clown? And they think about, balloons, making balloon animals, and the curly red hair, and the big red shoes, the big nose, and the big lips, and that, right? And so that's not the kind of clowning that I teach or that I do. The kind of clowning that I teach and practice is basically, it's just kind of you bring up the volume. So you discover sort of what you love about life, what bugs you about life, what you want, and then you sort of develop this character around that, and you end up finding clothes, and it can be anything from overalls to a dress jacket to a flowery dress to you have to have something on your head. And it's just it's you exaggerated. And it normally involves bringing joy to people, making people laugh, but also trying to communicate something important about life to your audience. And you've got to get clear on what you're trying to communicate. Maybe it's something as corny as life is beautiful, or something as mundane as it's really important to brush your teeth every day. And then you just sort of build a little story around that message, and that's the kind of clowning that I do. I don't know if that makes any sense, Ian. You know
to me, but I'm biased. You've shown me the magic.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very personal. It's very individual. You really just got to figure out who your clown is. And some of you guys might already know who your clown is. Maybe you clown around at home. Anna, maybe I've seen you be pretty clowny, Anna, on stage. And maybe you entertain your family at home. Maybe you've got a little sense of what your clown would be, right? You go to this class, this pachinko-based class, and you discover it even more. You just get a little more clear. Like, my clown walks this way. My clown talks this way. But actually, we don't talk. For the first big part, you have to try to express everything with your body and through your eyes. And once you've done that, you can voice, you can vocalize, but words are sort of the last thing you kind of get. It's kind of like the golden prize at the end when you've really figured out your clown. You're really in your clown body, and you know who your clown is and what your clown wants to say to the world. Then you kind of get to graduate to speaking. Because speaking can take you out of your clown a little bit if you go to it too early. Mm-hmm. Sounds very complex, doesn't it? Does it sound complex?
I think it is one of the most unique things that I've ever done. And I should point out that clowning is something that we are so lucky to have here in Corner Brook at Grenfell campus. This is a course that's taught at the National Theatre School of Canada. So it's taught at a lot of schools to let actors release a lot more. I think that's what it's helpful for kind of all branches, is it gives that release to the actors. So it's so valuable for us to have it as a relatively small school. There's lots of schools between us and NTS, but we're in line with some of those courses that those other schools don't have, which is a real treat that Louise has brought to Corner Brook.
Yeah, it's really important in the actor's formation. I mean, it was one of the most important courses that I took when I was training as an actor, because, like you say, Ian, it helps you to release. What you're releasing is your truth. and you're getting okay with who you are on stage. You're giving yourself permission to be truly honest on stage with your audience. So it's and then that can sort of embody and filter its way into the characters that you play. Like you play a character, and after I did my training in clowning, if I would play a character, I'd be like, this character reminds me of this aspect. I would sort of pull things out of my clown to feed into the character, and it helped me get more physical. It helped me just feel more grounded in the story of that character. So it's really, really useful training for an actor. I don't know. I know some of you guys are looking to acting training, so you've got to look forward to, because most schools do have it.
Yeah. It, I think it's an amazing release of things. And I think and I must say, having looked into other forms of clowning, but only being taught by Louise this pachinko style of clowning, which is developed in Canada through travel to a couple other areas, and realizing this, and it's only a couple generations back, like Richard Pachinko, who made this, he's passed away.
Yeah.
He could, if he hadn't passed away so young, he could still be alive. So we're still in a very fresh form of that clowning. That's fairly Canadian, which is a wonderful thing to have, kind of our version of this that opens the heart so much.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, he was definitely influenced by sort of the European form of clowning. He went to Le Coq, he went to the drama school in France and studied there. And he, now this is, mouth to mouth to mouth. This is what I understood. He talks a little bit about on a website that he used to have, which still exists on the web, actually. You can look it up. But when he went and studied the European form of clowning, he felt like they were imposing characters on him. And so, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And there's actually real value to that as well, right? But then he left the school and came back to Canada, because he's Canadian, and connected with the Aboriginal community, to be honest. And he found that they had, tradition of the trickster in the Native American community. And the trickster was actually really an important person in the community who could challenge the chief. If the chief was making a decision with the community, the trickster was the one that could go to the chief and say, no, you're missing it here. We need to do something different. And the chief always listened to the trickster. Same with the king and the jester, right? If the jester's like the king's side hand person, or I wish it was the queen's side hand person too, but anyway, patriarchal society, we're not going to get into that. But the jester got a lot of respect. So Richard Pachinko kind of looked at this and said, the clown is not just somebody who, in the European sense, was the rejects of society, the people who were living on the streets, the deformed, people who didn't have homes and who would, make fools of themselves in order to get people to put money into their hands so that they can go and buy themselves some food. So that's where that tradition of clowning comes from in Europe. And so he thought, it's got to be a little bit more than that. Like, for sure, the clown is vulnerable. The clown shows themselves. They open their hearts and they're honest. And that's a big part of that European form of clowning, for sure. Putting yourself out on the line, singing a song, whatever it is that you do. But there's also an importance to the clown. There's also something that we need to respect and honor. So when he developed this course, he put the two together. He developed this course which explores, where you get to develop your own clown and figure out your own message to the world. Like, who are you and how do you want to dress, and how do you empower yourself to be able to give an important message and to bring something to an audience. And then also the other part of that is, yes, I am going to be a fool. I am going to make a fool of myself to give myself to you so that we can together get to another better place, right? Vulnerability, truth. If that makes any sense at all.
I think, it is a beautiful thing about stretching yourself and about opening up and sometimes it's in different ways. And I'm going to show you a little bit of my journey. I haven't opened these in a long time, but a lot of clowning is color. This style of clowning is exploring colors, and then this is an earlier phase, and these colors eventually find their way onto your mask that you build for the clown. So here's
just while you're opening those up, Ian, I'm just going to explain a little bit more. So what we do in this course is that we explore colors. We take one color at a time and we embody these colors, and we develop a character almost. So we develop how does orange make me feel? And when I'm orange, I feel like I want to be marching, or when I'm orange, I feel really woo, or when I'm orange, I feel, so it's different for everybody. But what they do is they develop all these, and we go through 7 colors. So they develop these, I don't want to say characters, because they're just different parts of you. And then I get the students to paint these out, to paint this character in the world of their orange. So what Ian's about to show you is his paintings, yay, which end up on the wall during the whole course. It's really fun. Let's go.
All right, so bear with the crinkling pages now, but here's a taste of some of the abstract ideas you have to get yourself into. And it's funny, I have very strong opinions about certain colors because when I was embodying them and in their world, I felt icky. So it's funny how some of those things still stick with you that you never would have thought of before, that a certain color was, you were like, oh, that was not fun to be in that color. So here's red, which has a lot going on in red.
I love seeing these again.
Then we have some orange. I don't look overly happy in orange. It looks like I might be burning up. We'll see. Trying to find, yes, I think yellow was the one that I really felt uncomfortable in. And there's a large happy face, but it's also a lot more splattery. And the whole art style changed when it came to yellow. And it's interesting to see, you know, sometimes it was a brush stroke, other times it was just throwing paint on it. Green, I'm in the spotlight. I spent a lot of time in green.
Green was a good feeling color for you.
Oh, blue, I was quite sad in blue. Oh, you know what that is? That is me doing push-pull reach with Jerry Etienne, was my blue. Indigo was very musical.
Oh.
And the only one that's vertical, I think. Nope, 2 were. The last 2, I went a different way with the page. And I'm in outer space with purple, with a pirate ship. So it's very interesting to go through those again and see them. Because there are some I remembered, but there's some that were a bit different the way I thought they were. So it was fun to share those.
Thank you so much for sharing those, and it's what I love about them, and this is pretty much true for everybody who ends up going through this course, is that, like you said, Ian, some of the colors feel really icky, really gross and dark and sometimes scary, and then other colors you're completely elated and happy, or feeling like a star, or, you know, just, it's everything in between. And then when you combine all of those things, when we work with a mask and you put your colors where the color wants to be on your mask, and then we call it walking, you walk all those colors into your body, your clown pops out as a combination of all those things. And in different parts of your story, different parts of you react to things, you know, if it's the food or if it's the whatever the story is about. This is a lot. This is very conceptual and complex in many ways to just talk about. It's easier when you're experiencing it, for sure. But all that to say that I hope that you guys, if you do pursue theater training, get a chance to take a Pachinko course. It's really fun.
And I should say, too, since our audience is currently young, the reason that Louise is talking about, if you pursue it post-secondary, is because you will not be able to learn clowning, as strange as it is, until you are of a certain age, because you need to pull from experience and
Yeah.
innocence, which is a different,
Yeah.
it's a very different thing. So, uh, Louise, we've talked a couple times, and, clowning, you've always said, it's reserved for, you have to have them at a university level by the time they're able to kind of go back to being a child in a way, but also pull from that experience on the other end.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to sort of, you know yourself a little bit, just a little bit, enough that you can actually be honest about your weaknesses, no, honest about the things that scare you. And then, put that into a story that, because it's not clowning for kids, it's clowning for everybody, but it's also clowning for adults. It's theatrical clowning. So you want to put something out there that the other human beings in the audience are going to be able to relate to. So yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's a bit of a journey too. Like it's a journey into yourself. So yeah, just need to be ready to take the journey, I guess. Often taught in the third year of theater training.
And it is certainly valuable. And one thing I'd like to say before we move on from clowning is, clowning can be funny. Making people laugh is a wonderful thing, but it can go to a more serious side. And there's a lot of kind of written works that, of course, have a lot of improv that pull into it as well, that focus on using clowning, using these skills to then push it into a slightly different direction. Like I, Claudia, comes to mind, which you had the fortune to direct, but there's a couple other writers that have been using clowning to kind of stretch the limit of what being a clown is, which is very
Yeah.
interesting to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there's bouffon clowning, which can get quite dark. Sort of exploring the darker side of life. But there's one rule that applies to all types of clowning, and it's keep your audience safe, which essentially is take care of your audience. You can push the boundaries, you can go to a dark place, you can go to a sad place, but as soon as you feel, and this is a big part of clowning, is feeling your audience. As soon as you feel like your audience is uncomfortable in any kind of way, you got to rescue them. You gotta either make fun of yourself, or make fun of the situation, or do something that brings them back to joy and comfort and enjoyment. Does that make sense? Comme ci, comme ça.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Louise, for talking about that. That's really something I've always wanted to take the time to talk about and give it some exposure. And I will say too, there's a fantastic documentary that's on YouTube that CBC did a number of years ago about pachinko clowning, called "To Be a Clown," and it is a real treat to watch it. It's a special little short, beautiful clip that captures kind of what Richard Pachinko was trying to do in very short time, but it's a lovely one to watch. I do recommend that if you're interested in it. And of course, Louise is here for the next 30 minutes. So if you have a question, add it to the chat.
Yeah.
So we're going to move into the next stage of the interview. So we're going to move on from clowning to something a bit more recent now. Louise, you've been getting a fair bit of coverage because you've won, and congratulations for that, an Arts and Letters Award for a song that you've written. And this is the second time you've won for writing music now. So what is it like, especially this current song? It's written about your father. So not only to win this award, but for a song so personal that you kind of came up with on the plane on your way to your home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what songwriting that really sort of gets across is again sort of like clowning. It's important to be honest and to try to really express how you're feeling. Not focus on rhyming or focus on the the length of your line or whatever, anything else that can get in the way. Just speak your truth and get the words down. And yeah, it was important for me to write a song for my dad because yeah, it was a good way for me to process saying goodbye to him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think, you know, for us in the arts, it's always finding the way, and I shouldn't say finding the way. I think more often than not, the way tends to find us of how to process it
Mhm.
and how to guide it through, whether it's a song, whether it's performing, whether it's, you know, dancing by yourself in a room with music blasting just to get you through, you know.
Yeah,
There's a
totally.
lot
In
of
fact, tomorrow night I've organized a dance party at my house with my family in Ontario, all my nieces and nephews, and yeah, my husband and I are going to DJ it, and yeah, I'm hoping it'll help to connect us a little bit because I miss them.
that's fantastic. I think that's
Have you guys
really
been dancing at home at all? Have you been sort of? Oh yeah, Lily. Oh yeah, right on. Well, too, I guess you guys dance too formally with your classes, and you must be missing that. So how are you making up for that?
I think Lily's, let me find it. There we go.
Well, we are still doing dance with Graham Academy
Okay,
over
good.
Zoom, so they're putting like videos up for us to like rehearse, and then we'll all dance as a group on Zoom. It usually doesn't work out very well. It's kind of in a canon, but yeah, we still get like that out there. And sometimes I do just blare music in my bedroom and dance all on my own. My family doesn't like that very
Yeah.
much because my bedroom's on the top floor and there's a lot of banging, but
Ah,
I enjoy it. So
I'll have to put up with it.
yeah.
That's really good though. That's I do it too, and I think it's really good to get some energy out, you know, and also really good for your body to get a stretch. So you guys don't want to miss out on that because you've been used to it, right?
Yeah.
And Anna, you were saying too that you've been dancing a little bit at home as well.
Yeah, I've been with Graham Academy as well, doing lots of dancing as a part of classes and filming videos for other people to learn because I'm doing now some work with the younger kids and teaching dances to them. So that's been really fun of filming stuff and sharing it with others. So I kind of get to share my dancing, and I also get to dance at home myself as a part of the Graham Academy. So that's been great. And then along with Lily, I do have the occasional dance party in my room.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think
No, especially-
you know, dance parties are what's getting us through right now. So it's a wonderful thing that we're able to continue to do that, and you know, to continue finding ways to make things work. Because of course, Zoom it's a challenge. You're looking at a screen so long, and no one's in sync. But I will say that our choreographer Amy has actually choreographed a piece that's intended for Zoom. So it's all about
oh,
the wave and the different motions. So if it will be in our show on June 26th, we're doing a little live on Facebook showcase. So that will be involved in that. So Amy's been working her brain around this, and she's been wonderful at adapting for it.
well, I will plug the festival in this moment because I certainly hope that people will submit dance projects to the festival. The submission, the call to artists is out there on the website, and we're really encouraging artists to try to find ways to get people in their bubbles moving. And the play space we're talking about is the driveway and the backyard, the fence, you know, the backyard fence that could have visual arts put onto it, the kitchen even, all kinds of things that can happen in the house. So the artist can guide the family through art, creative activity, or the artist can create something that the family can listen to or watch and do something or respond to it in some way. So we're hoping to get a lot. We're starting to get some interesting submissions actually. So You dancers out there, keep this in your brains.
Yes, so of course that is CB Nui, which Louise has been a part of since it started as Nui 150 Plus, which was a beautiful festival about getting together and taking over West Street with a big crowd of people. Well, it's changed to a digital festival, which I think will still bring so many people together. So that is all digital submissions, and it's open for submissions right now. So if anyone watching this has an idea, head to that website, check it out. If you have something that comes to mind, there's no harm in submitting something and willing to share that in this time.
Yeah, and you have till June 30th or May 31st to put something. Wait a second now here. Did we decide to go to the end of June? I think we decided to go to the end of June. I'm so sorry. I don't remember in this moment. There have been a lot of meetings. But like I said, like we don't want people to just tune into the whole time and watch CB on the computer, right? Because I think by September, people will have spent so much time on the computers that they'll be tired of that. It'll be exhausting a little bit. So, and people are, going to school online. So we're really trying to encourage artists to give something that they can take it away out of the computer and do it in their physical world of their bubble. So I think I remember this.
So hopefully the ideas can brim from that. And, Louise, I guess that's just another one of your areas, from clowning to songwriting and performing those songs, not only writing them, but singing them as well, to puppetry, theater, film, and arts management, event coordinator. So it's really amazing, Louise, to see how much you've done in the arts.
It's just because I get bored easy.
That's the confession, right? It's we're bored. I had to learn something new.
I might, I don't know what it is about me, but I'm attracted to a lot of different things. Maybe I'm what is it? Master of none. What's that saying?
Jack of all trades, master of none, I think it goes. But
that's the one. Hopefully I've mastered a little bit in certain areas, but I'm definitely a jack of all trades.
I think, the term master for me as an artist is impossible. You cannot, if you ever go to a course and you're like, I didn't learn anything from that, then that's a you thing. That is not the person teaching that course. You should be able to get something, even if you see the worst show you ever saw, you should be able to learn at least one thing from that experience. I think, and it's so valuable to access that and really push yourself to learn. I think it's so valuable to try to continually do that as artists and performers.
Keeps us alive.
Engaged. So, Louise, before we go, we have a couple questions from some students, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your album before we get into that, which of course the production's a little delayed on, but it's a fully French language album, which I think is so special that we're able to release that. Canada has a lot to celebrate in terms of being bilingual and celebrating these two languages that we have. So what has the experience been like to, kind of go back? Of course, a lot of your work here has been in English since being in Newfoundland, but to go back to those French roots and be able to celebrate that and write music.
Yeah, well, I was writing English songs for years, and then when I started writing French songs, I found it just it was easier for me because I'm French Canadian. It just kind of connected to my roots, like you say, and I love it. And I find that I actually sound different when I sing in French than when I sing in English, which is a little bit, I don't understand that, but it's true. There's something that happens when the language too, languages have different ways of playing with vocalization as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying writing and singing in my native tongue.
That's
I
fantastic.
miss speaking.
So, and you've been working on that with Louis McDonald, extraordinary producer here in Corner Brook, and well known to the Graham Academy students watching now, because he's been in our Christmas galas doing the things that Lou does so incredibly, incredibly well. So what's that been like to partner up with Lou on this?
Amazing. Like he's an incredibly gifted musician, and just knows so much about music. He doesn't speak French, understand French. So it's been really interesting because I don't read music, and I don't. So I write my songs. I hear them in my head. So I've got the melody and I've got the lyrics. And I write it down, and I sort of record myself singing them into a recorder, whatever it is, my phone. And then I bring that to Lou. So Lou then has got to translate that to, he's got to create an arrangement. He's got to, right, just from hearing me. So he's brilliant, but he also doesn't speak French. So he doesn't understand. So I've got to also explain to him the story, right? So it's a lot. So I've talked about this, like we're learning different languages. I'm learning the language of music, and he's learning the language of French. I don't know how much he's learning though, but he's doing a really good job. Sometimes he says it's almost better that he doesn't understand, because then he just goes by the music of it, and it's just like the one layer that he's focusing on, and he'll get a sense for what I'm trying to say. So it's been a really interesting journey. But I have to say, the last time that we did work on a song for my dad, I've been teaching myself to play piano with basic chords, and I actually composed it on the piano that one. So he was like, "Eureka! Finally!" So I was able to just go into his studio and just like play the basic chords, like da 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 dee 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 da 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 dee dee dee. And he's like, "Okay, this is easy. This is gonna be easy now." So I'm trying to figure out how to do that for all the songs. So
Nice. It sounds like a wonderful partnership that is happening, and I think that's a beautiful thing sometimes that can surprise us, that, you know, because in ways of the disconnect, the partnership is really strong. And I think too, how am I wording this now? I think it creates a team, you know. Of course, through this, a lot of us have learned a lot of tech that we never learned before by necessity. So I guess in a way, in creating this music, there came a point when I was like, okay, I hear the song very clearly, but I need to play it out on a piano and learn these chords to really be able to show it a little stronger.
Yeah, and you know, I think I understand what you're trying to say, or what you're saying is that, you know, even with the technology that we're having to sort of embrace, and the way we're having to sort of adapt to communicating right now, it creates vulnerability. It makes us, because we don't know it fully, so then you need the other person, you need to you need each other a bit more, so it really creates a connection. So maybe that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's all about finding new ways to connect, and I think it's a wonderful thing that we're you know, I was talking to Patrina Bromley, and she said, you know, this is the best possible time for us to have to be isolated, because we have so much connection at our fingertips that we wouldn't have had before.
That's
And I
true.
think that's, you know, it is an amazing thing that we can do this. We don't have to write a letter, and then if we don't hear back, we don't know until we get another letter back, you know, a month later. It's a different time for us here, and it's wonderful to be able to continue to create and continue to share with each other and connect with each other.
Having said that, letter writing is really cool. And if you guys can write like a letter to your grandmother, imagine write a letter to your grandmother or your grandfather and they go to the mail and they open a letter from you. Ah, gold, right?
Yes, it does not replace letter writing. It's great that we can
No.
check in and also write those letters. Getting
Yeah.
letters in the mail is awesome. So
Yes.
we have a couple questions before we clue things up. Our first one's coming from Lily Cunning. Let me unmute her there for you. There you go, Lily. Go for it.
Hello. My name is Lily.
Oh, Lily. Okay.
I'm Lily too. I am a
Hi,
artist.
Lily.
Hello. I am an artist.
Yes, that's Lily's visual art behind her there that she's showing.
I'm noticing. Yeah.
I painted the deer.
Can you give us a close up of that of your art?
I'm gonna try.
Oh, there we go.
Oh wow! You did the deer?
Yeah.
Whoa! That's really good.
And my question for you today is, how do you get ready for clowning or like songs or whatever?
I think.
How do you get ready for clowning? How do you get ready for clowning? Is that what you asked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Big
So
question.
first of all, it's a great question. So first of all, I get into my costume. I get into all of my costume except for my hat and my nose. And then I take my mask, and my mask has got all my colors on it and the shapes that mean something to me. Like when I touch it, I feel different things. So I close my eyes and I go to my mask and I try to breathe my mask into my body. Doesn't that sound crazy? But that's what I do. And then when I feel full of my clown energy, then I cap that energy by putting my nose and my hat on. And then I'm like, woo, when I feel my clown energy coming out of my eyes, then I'm ready for an audience.
That's kind of me when I have a sugar
When you have a what?
a sugar rush.
I think that's pretty great.
Guys, line up and boom.
Oh,
Uh,
that is quite astute, Lily. Actually,
Yeah. The other day I had
so
Dr. Pepper
that,
and
the
I
only
just
thing,
like,
right? The only thing, though, you have to make sure you keep your feet grounded too. Like you got to make sure your feet stay on the ground, because no audience wants to just see you kind of going crazy, right? Without a purpose. So you use that energy, that fun energy, that playful energy, and you kind of put it into doing something, because the audience always wants a story.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. And our next question, this one's going to clue us off, is another Lily. We have a question from Lily Smallwood, again about clowning. So Lily, whenever you're ready.
Hello. My
Hello.
question for you is, do you prefer, it's kind of a complicated, well, not really complicated. I don't know. I'm just going to say the question. Do you prefer to have your clown speak or just use body language?
Great. That's a great question. It depends on how heightened my emotion is. I love using my body to express my feelings, first of all. So I love being able to, like dancers, right? To be able to just kind of tell the story with like your body, like, oh wow, like I just love this little, like just love being able to exaggerate things and just really put my emotions right into my body and like get mad or whatever it is. But then sometimes when it's almost like you think about opera, when it gets so big, when your emotions and your feelings are so big about something that, you know, maybe it's like a love letter from a breakup love letter, and someone's received, you know, a love letter. I've received a love letter, and it's like somebody having to go away for, I'm gonna miss them so much. Then the body can only express so much, and then you've got to let out some sound. You know, you've got to, oh, there's whatever it is, right? But none of it can be planned. That's the thing about clowning. You really got to be honest. You got to be in the moment. You got to plan a little story out. So you got to know, like, what do you call your beats? First, I'm going to come out. I'm going to wake up from my slumber. I'm going to check my mail. And I'm going to, you know, pay a couple of bills. And then I'm going to find the letter. But all the things that happen, your reactions and how you're feeling about these things from moment to moment to moment in a clown turn have got to be honest. Because having a conversation with the audience in a clown turn, you're letting, you have to tune into their reaction to, like, if they laugh about something, or if they get really quiet about a moment that you're opening something up, or, you know, taking out, about to slice an apple, or I don't know what, I'm just pulling stuff out of my brain here, but you've got to be listening to them and taking them on the journey with you, and then maybe surprise them sometimes, right? I think I got off the tracks a little bit there, but sound is where you go when you need to.
All right, thank you. That's very good answer.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Louise, for sharing that about clowning. You know, I'm sure Louise has offered clowning at Grenfell, but also has done a number of shorter term camps. I don't know if camps
Community class. Look, not camps, but for kids, right? Because that doesn't really work. Although one year I did bring a bunch of clown noses to my camp, and I let the kids put them on, and I just sat and was entertained, because kids are clowns anyway, right? They don't need any course. They don't need a course. So I was just like, okay, just come on out to the stage and just talk about life, please. And that was all I needed for that day. With that nose on your face and something on your head. The community course is really fun, because you get students of all ages. I've taught 65-year-old women, and the thing that comes out that they're not expecting to come out is just beautiful and really fun to experience and share.
So there are opportunities for that, of course. Not right now. Well, we're in this time. We're all learning to work together and operate as best that we can through these digital sessions, but sometimes that's much easier said than done. And of course, get those submissions in if you have an idea, or if you know someone who might have an idea for CB Nui. Submit that on their website. It can be visual, it can be moving. There's all kinds of different options that you can create in this time. So that's the last big pitch for CB Nui.
Thank you, Ian.
And thank you, Louise, once again. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time with us, and sharing your heart and your stories. It has been really wonderful, and we will see you next week with a new guest right back here on our digital stage door.
And thanks for sharing your paintings, Ian. I loved seeing those again.
It's fun to revisit those. All right, so that clues us up. And thank you again, Louise, and Joel, whenever you're ready, you can end the call. See everybody.
Bye, everybody.